5% of the population gets the long-form questionnaire, which includes additional questions on topics like your place of birth, ethnicity, education, and labor. Some Canadians have posted photos like this with return to sender written on their census invites, saying the government shouldn't have access to their information. But all of this data is used to help different levels of government make policy decisions.
But is the government really using the information you're obligated to provide for social services as stipulated by CBC? Tonight, we find out. Welcome to the Political Orphans. I'm your host, Nico Lagan. Tomorrow, May 12th, is the official deadline for every person living in Canada to fill out their census. Something that we are required to do every 5 years. But it seems that this year, there's something different about the census. This whole episode idea came to me over the weekend when I was just scrolling through social media, and I kept on seeing post after post of people sending their census back to sender, refusing to fill them out due to their highly invasive questions. So obviously, I did some research, and today we talk about what I found. So, first and foremost, there are two types of census. There's the short form census, and then there's the long form census. 75% of us, me included, receive the short form census, or what they call Form 2A. And yes, for you guys, because I love what I do and I love you guys, I went through both censuses question by question so that you wouldn't have to do it. So here is the short form census, as you can see on your screen. Although now it is mostly received electronically, you can still request the paper census and they still publish them. So on census.gc.ca, the official government website for Statistic Canada and their census, here it is. We are looking short form, 21 questions. Nothing crazy. All questions that, as much as I don't like to be asked questioned, I don't like to be questioned by a government. Those are questions that we've grown accustomed to. Like you can see right here, I'm just going to scroll through. What is your telephone number? What's the address of your dwelling? What is the mailing address of this dwelling? Is it different from above? So they call them demographic questions. Nothing crazy. It's very, very normal for a census. I don't like it, but it's normal. Then you have what people have been complaining about. What I keep on seeing posts about, people saying that they spent over an hour and a half answering questions that were so invasive that they couldn't believe that the government was actually asking them those questions. And obviously we are talking about the long form census that I'm going to show you right now. And we're going to review some of those questions because it is true that some of the questions on the long form census are absolutely insane. Just to give you an example, the other census I just showed you, the short form or Form 2A, had 16 pages. This one, if you can see at the top, it's the PDF there. There's 52 pages. I counted 83 different questions. 83 different questions. There are the 21 questions that are part of the short form census on there. So if you look, all of this is the exact same as the short form census. It goes on, it goes on, it goes on, and blah, blah, blah. It asks questions until about question, it would be 17 or 18 because there's 4 questions in the first portion until here, until this part. So until page 6, exactly the same as the short form. But there are 62 other questions that are downright invasive, ranging from housing costs, income, ethnicity, religion, sexuality, and gender. We're going to review some of those questions right now because they are absolutely I don't want to say outlandish, because I'm not surprised. Let's be honest here. I'm not surprised that our government wants to know this. I'm not surprised at all. But the fact that we are mandated, that it is an obligation for us to answer these questions, should not be okay. That should go against our Charter of Rights. We shouldn't have to answer some of the questions, or all the questions that are not based on demography or on demography. So here are some of the questions that I have identified. So the first part is general health. They have questions. They actually have questions about physical, mental, and social well-being, which, again, not the biggest of problems, but they do ask some questions under the activities of daily living, where does one have difficulty seeing, difficulty hearing? Do we have difficulty walking, difficulty learning, or remembering, or concentrating? Is there a person that has emotional, psychological, or mental health conditions? For example, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, substance abuse disorder, anorexia. Then they ask, does this person have any other health problems or long-term conditions that have lasted or is expected to last for 6 months or above? What does that make you think about? Because my mind went somewhere automatically as soon as I was hearing questions about people's well-being, or people sick, or their problem with people living in your household. I automatically thought MAID. It is literally like they're asking questions to identify who the next MAID victims will be. It's absolutely insane. What difference does it make? Why are they asking those questions? Because we all know what's going on with MAID right now, that it is the offered solution for most of our problems, it seems like. And this is not even an exaggeration. So why is our government, through Census, asking us questions about the health of the people living in our household? Then there's this part on page 16, where they talk about social, cultural information. So they want to know where somebody was born, like the province, as you can see here. Were you born outside of Canada? They want to know where you're from. And then they want to know who's a Canadian citizen, who isn't, what language you speak. They want to know the ethnicity or cultural origins of your ancestors. But here is one, question 25, right here. Which population group or groups best describe this person? Specifically, all groups that applies, or specify all groups that apply. Respond option 1, white. Respond option 2, South Asian, like Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan. Option 3, First Nations. Option 4, Chinese. Option 5, Black. Option 6, Filipino. 7, Arab. 8, Latin American. 9, Southeast Asians. 10, West Asians. 11, Korean. 12, Japanese. Or please specify another group. Then on question 29, is this person enrolled under or beneficiary of an Inuit land claims agreement? Land claims agreement. What the hell are we talking about? Are we talking about now identifying who's going after the land of people that bought that land? Is that what we're talking about here? Because there's not a lot of information. Like what I'm showing you, there's no explanation as to what those questions actually mean. These are the questions you receive. Those are the answers that you have to answer. But this whole section, it literally goes for, I believe, 10 questions. It's really like they have no clue who's living in Canada, do they? They're literally asking to identify who you are, like they don't know who lives in Canada. Now, question 30. They speak about religion, which, okay, sure. But what difference does it make? Why do they need to know the religion of people? Is it how they identify where Christians are located to make sure that Bill C9, the new hate speech laws, are going to be applicable to them? Is that, should I put that I'm Christian on the census if they ask me? Like, why do they need to know this? Question 31. Has this person ever served in the Canadian military? Okay, sure, I get it. Maybe they're trying to see what services they need to not give our veterans because they keep on cutting the money that we give veterans left, right, and center. Remember what Trudeau said? We don't have enough money right now. So it seems that why do they need to know this? Because clearly they're not giving them more money. Then you look at a question, you look at a section called mobility. Where does this person live? Where did this person live 1 year ago? Where does this person live 5 years ago? And again, one of the answers is outside of Canada. Specify the country of origin of residence 5 years ago. Then there's a few questions about homelessness. Then we go into a section that this one is, I would love for the government to explain why they need that information. What is this person's sexual orientation? Sexual orientation refers to how a person describes their sexuality. Response 1, heterosexual. 2, lesbian or gay. 3, bisexual or pansexual. Write in field or specify this person's sexual orientation. But here's the part that really I'm not happy about. Questions 36 to 59, which the question about sexual orientation is question 36, are only for persons aged 15 years or older. Why the fuck are they asking about the sexual preference of minors? How is that not problematic? Why are you asking parents to tell you the sexual orientation of their teenagers? We're talking about minors, and the government wants to know their sexual orientation. This is insane. To me, this is the most insane question in the long form 2026 census. Why the hell are they asking our children, our kids, our teenagers, age 15 or older, their sexual orientation? Like, they shouldn't even be asking an adult that question. But a teenager, a minor, it's insane. It's absolute insanity. Then we have a massive question about education. It just goes on and on and on about education. Then we want to go to section E, which is just after question 59. Man, see how long this is? I'm on page 39 of 52 right now, and I am not done yet. It just goes on and on and on. So section E, they ask about dwellings, but check question E3A right here. And if you've been following what's going on in the UK, this is exactly where my mind went when I saw this question. E3A asks, how many rooms are in this dwelling? So they're asking about how many people live under your roof, under the house, under the roof where you live. Now they're asking about how many rooms are in this dwelling. Why does it matter? Why does it matter how many rooms this house has? This apartment has? Why does it matter to you? Who cares how many rooms? And when I said that, my mind went to what's going on in the UK right now. I don't know if you guys knew about this, but in the UK, they're trying, actually, they're not trying. They're in the process. Some local councils are in the process of implementing what they call under occupancy premiums. They are targeting rooms that are vacant, or so-called empty nesters. So basically, if I live in a house that there are rooms that are not utilized, certain councils in the UK are currently implementing a new tax where I will need to pay the government for rooms I don't use. Let's go back to the question. How many rooms are in this dwelling? That's on the same form that is forcing you, because this is mandatory, you need to fill that out if you've received the long form. Now they're asking you about how many rooms are in your house. Doesn't that sound like that's exactly what they're trying to do in the UK, or what they're implementing in the UK? We'll get back to the census in a minute, because see, just here's another question. Hold on before we go. E3B, how many of those rooms are bedrooms? Why does it matter? Why does it matter how many of my rooms are bedrooms? Because now you know how many people live in my house. A lot of questions that they shouldn't be asking. But I don't know if you noticed, this is something that I knew was the case, but I don't know if you guys know this, because I spent a bit of time showing some questions where they were asking about your country of origin, your ethnicity, your social ethnicity. And it turns out that the census, the 2026 census and other census prior to the 2026 census, are expecting every single residence in Canada to fill it out. This means Canadian citizens, permanent residents, refugee claimants, asylum seekers, temporary foreign workers, international students with study permits, people with work permits, family members living with them in Canada. So everybody that calls Canada, or that has a house, or that lives in a house in Canada, that it is their primary residence, is obligated by law to fill that out. Again, this blows my mind that we have so many permanent residents, so many refugee claimants, asylum seekers, temporary foreign workers, international students with study permits and work permits, and family members living with any of those categories I just named need to be included in the census. Doesn't it sound that they have no clue who's in Canada, and they're trying to confirm somehow, by any way they can, how many people are living in Canada? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It makes me realize, those questions make me realize that our government are asking questions that they shouldn't be asking due to privacy, and they're asking questions that they shouldn't be asking in the first place if they actually took care of our borders and stopped mass immigration, if they actually knew who was in this country. But if you remember, there's people out there that are stipulating or presenting numbers up to 2 million people would be illegally in Canada. Over 2 million people, as per reports, have overstayed their visas in Canada. Their visas have expired and they're still here in Canada. That's 2 million that they think of. The estimates are anywhere from 500,000 to over 2 million. And this is exactly what that census reminds me of. We have so many people, so many foreigners living in Canada that the government can't even keep track of them, don't want to keep track of them. however you want to say it. And then we have the reasons, because obviously what I'm saying is going to be considered a conspiracy theory. But what are the reasons that the government, so let's go back to the long form census for a second here, and let's see the reasons why the government feels that they need to ask such invasive questions that have nothing to do with demography. Part 2, page 49, part 2. What is the census? The census provides a statistical portrait of the country and its people. In Canada, it is mandatory for all residents to participate in the census. The census of population collects information on the demographic, social, and economic situation of people across Canada and the dwelling they live in. Why is the 2026 census of population important? Well, the census is one of the most important sources of information for our country. Information from the census will be used by governments, businesses, associations, community organizations, and many others to make important decisions for your community, your province or territory, and the entire country. Businesses, associations, communities, organizations, and many others to make your life easier. So basically, our information will be provided to third parties. They're stipulating it right in the form right there. And then, what happens to the information that you provide? The information you provide will be kept confidential in accordance with the Statistic Act. The information you provide may be used by Statistic Canada for other statistical and research purposes, or may be combined with other surveys or administrative data sources. No one outside of Statistics Canada can have access to the information that could identify you as an individual. Although it is reported that the information in the census can be and will be combined with information you provided on your taxes to see if you did give the money you owed the government. Because some of the questions in the long form census are about your salary, how much money you make. They ask questions about your house. I didn't go over it because, as I said, there's 83 questions. I just went over the really problematic one, but there's a lot of problematic ones. The 61 extra question, or 62, my apologies, extra question that are in the long form version of the census ask a lot of personal questions. So they ask about how much money you make. They also ask about how much mortgage you pay, how much your rent, how much your electricity, how much you pay in bills. So they're collecting a lot of information, yet they say right in there that they will share that information with businesses, association, community organization, and others to make important decisions for your community. They will be also sharing that information or combining with other survey or administrative data sources. Now, the question that we've been hearing about, that was even in the video introduction of this episode about CBC, is the census mandatory? Because that's something I've been seeing online. I've been seeing a lot of people, a lot of posts trying to show you ways to get out of it, how to avoid having to fill out the census. But the point of the matter is, whatever those posts are saying, they are inaccurate. Yes, it is mandatory. Participating in the 2026 census is mandatory under the Statistics Act. All Canadian households are required to complete a census of population questionnaire. And it's always been the case. I've looked throughout the Canadian history ever since the census has been introduced, and it has always been mandatory. Actually, prior to 2018, you could face not only a fine, but you could end up in jail for not completing or lying on your census form. But today, since 2018, jail is no longer a consequence. you can get a fine up to $500. That seems to be the worst case scenario. Yet I could not find one single instance, not one case of a person going to jail for not filing their census. So it seems like it's an empty threat to scare people into submission. And the numbers I seen was 98% participation rates in census, at least up to 2021. I'm curious to see the one for 2026. What will be the participation rate based on all the posts that I've seen of people refusing to fill it out? But in 2018, reports stated 36 people had been charged over refusal to complete the 2016 census. Out of those 36, 15 were resolved, 3 received fines, 12 had charges withdrawn after eventually completing the census. So as much as the census is mandatory, there's not really any consequences to not filling it out. But at the same time, there is a 98% participation rate. I don't know if participation is the right term we should use, because it's an obligation. They're forcing you. But all to say that it all seems like empty threats. Now, one thing that I wonder if you knew this, because I did not know that. But did you know that all the information the government obtains through this census will be stored for 92 years? Everything they collect about every person in Canada, their religion, sexual orientation, race, mental health, finances, will be stored until 2118. Doesn't that sound like a permanent file on every person in Canada? They get to keep it for 92 years. I don't know where they got the 92. Seems like such an odd number, but 92 years. Then if we go back, I want to go back one last time to the census. I want to show you one part. It's a good thing I wasn't drinking when I was drinking, as in, let's say, drinking tea like I'm doing right now, when I read this, because this is so ridiculous. Page 48 of the census, under the law protects what you tell us section. Listen to this. The confidentiality of your response is protected by law. All Statistics Canada employees have taken an oath of secrecy. Your personal information cannot be given to anyone outside Statistics Canada without your consent. This is your right. Yet, what did I say earlier? Information from the census will be used by governments, businesses, associations, community organizations, and many others to make important decisions for your community, your province, your territory, and the entire country. It is also said that this could be combined, this information could be combined with other survey or administrative data sources. Yet they're trying to tell us that your information will remain confidential. It will remain protected because they have taken an oath of secrecy. This is the same government that is trying to pass Bill C-8 that wants to be able to force all electronic service providers to record your metadata and to save it for up to 1 year, and that without a warrant. Give me a break, right? I love how they add legal sections like this in a document like the census, and we all know that they have no respect for our information. And then one last thing I want to talk about before we get to the questions. Actually, there's 2 points I want to make, but the first one happened over the weekend. I was watching TV. Actually, I fell asleep in front of the TV. I woke up in the middle of the night. It was like 1 a.m. and this movie started playing. It was called Anniversary. The movie's terrible. I'm not suggesting that you watch it by any stretch of the imagination, but I always find it interesting what they talk about in movies. They always tend to put stuff in the movies that you should pay attention because it might become a reality down the road. Well, this movie Anniversary is woke crap. It's absolute Hollywood garbage. But the movie shows what happens when a government becomes totalitarian. And one of the tools that they used in the movie to put pressure on their citizens to scare their citizen into submission was a census. The census was mandatory, and if you didn't fill it out, you got a visit from officials to interview you in person as a form of intimidation. But here's the part that I did not know until today. I don't know how I did not know this, but I was today old when I found that out. Did you know that in Canada, this is not even science fiction? That just this year, on the 2026 census, Statistic Canada currently has 3,200 staffed workers that they called enumerators, specifically for the purpose of showing up to your door if you don't fill out your census. They might call you, or they might send somebody, an enumerator, to your house. So it's not even a conspiracy theory. It's not even science fiction that the government department, Statistic Canada in this case, responsible for census, will send somebody to your house in order to get the information that you did not provide. So basically intimidate you into providing the information. Funny how I don't believe in coincidences, but I found it very interesting that over the weekend I saw a very bad movie talking about this. And then today I learned that this is exactly what's happening in Canada. So this is the reality in which we live right now. So here are the questions that I have for you guys. Actually, you know what? What comes to mind? Let me ask you this as a question. What comes to mind when you hear the term enumerator? When I heard this, I automatically thought 1984. It's so Orwellian. Enumerator. I'm like, what the hell type of title is this? So that's question number one. Question number two. Has any of you got the long form census? Did you fill it out? How long did it take you to fill out? What do you think is the reason why the government is asking such invasive questions? So those are the questions I have for you. What do you think of the term enumerator? How many of you got the long form census? Did you fill out your census altogether? Did you fill out your census? Did you send it back to sender? And why would the government, in your opinion, ask such invasive questions about your sexuality, gender, your income, how many rooms you have in your house, how many of them are bedrooms? Now, the Political Orphans show exists for two reasons. Explain what's really going on and enable the conversations that we were told to have to avoid. Because unfortunately, the average Canadian is still asleep. They don't actually, not only do they believe, but they are hypnotized by the mainstream media lies and our politicians' left versus right narrative. But as I always say, it's not too late for Canada. But it's time for us to do something. And the first step is education, is to reach as many people as possible in order to tell them the truth. And this is where you guys come in. This show is 100% listener funded, no corporate, government, or political money, just you. So if you believe in educating your fellow Canadian, consider becoming a monthly donor or a one-time donation. Go to thepoliticalorphans.com/show. And let's build the real news alternative Canada deserves. As of yesterday, the Orphans hotline is officially live. Yesterday, we got our first call. Dawn Valent called us. It worked. So here's your invitation to call in. If you do want to have a voice-to-voice conversation with me and you want the audience to hear your opinion, call me. All you have to do, it's going to go at the bottom of your screen in a minute. But all you have to do is to go to callme, CALLME.road, RODE.com. It's going to ask you for a code. The code to reach me is S as in Sam, F as in Frank, L as in Lima, X, J, Y. Callme.road.com. And the code is SFLXJY. So guys, let's take some questions. Let's see what you guys have to say about this. I'm really curious to know how many of you got the long form census and what went through your mind when you were reading it. Teresa 450, donation of $5. Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate the love. Thank you. So how many of you received the long form census? I'm really, really curious. Now let's see what you guys had to say. We're going to take some of your comments right here. I could see a bunch going. So there you go. Oh, I love that. So you got to be careful, guys, because there are people that are saying that it is not mandatory, but that is incorrect. I'm not saying that there's grave consequences if you choose not to fill it out, but the point in the matter is that by law, it is mandatory for you guys to fill out the census. But again, did you guys do it or not? Now, let's take this comment. I don't think I've ever seen this individual before. Super cult, the new Minotti. They are refusing because they don't want to give personal information to those covering up international child trafficking, child rape, and murder and genocide. Makes sense. I get it. I totally understand. I fully understand why people do not want to fill out the census, especially the long form one. Like I went through the short form and I went through them all. I showed them to you today. I understand I'm not saying that they should be asking those questions. I'm just saying that the short form is debatable. The long form, though, makes absolutely no sense. So I fully understand why people wouldn't want to fill it out. Bug Katie 1291 is saying, I didn't want my pensions to be docked or bank account frozen. I can't afford a 500 fine or worse. Thanks, liberals. Yeah, that's always why they will put a direct consequences to not filling out a piece of information, a piece of documentation that they want. Or else, I'd be very curious if people did not have, if it wasn't mandatory, how many people would actually fill it out. And if I remember correctly, the last time the census, I believe, because it's every 1 year, it's every 1 or 6, meaning 2021, 2026, 2011, 2016. So it's every 5 with years ending by 1 or 6. And I believe that it was under Stephen Harper in 2011. They made the long form census. So 25% of the census to be non-mandatory. And the numbers that I saw earlier, it went from a 98% participation rate to 68 or 64. So clearly, if it wasn't mandatory, if there was no fine to it, people would not fill out the census. And again, I fully understand why people don't want to fill it out. Claire Robitaille is saying Statistic Canada sells the data collected in the census. Well, would that be that surprising considering that in the census itself, as I said multiple times, but I'm going to repeat it again, information from the census will be used by governments, businesses, associations, community organizations, and many others to make important decisions for your community. So clearly that information is going somewhere. It's not, they're not even trying to hide it. It's directly in the census. God Big Z1L, you can't get fined for not filing it out. That long-haired lawyer did a show on it. Well, you are incorrect. Although, as I showed, very, very few people ever get fined. It does happen. And it is illegal. As much as it's bullshit that shouldn't be the case, it doesn't change the fact that it is a fact, that it is mandatory, and there is a possibility that you might be fined $500. Is the chance of you being fined high? It's extremely, extremely, extremely low. So chances are it ain't gonna happen. But that doesn't mean that low chances of consequences make it not illegal or no chances of being fined. That's why you need to be so careful about what you read on the internet. Don't just believe everything you read, because this whole show started because of a post that I saw where this so-called lawyer was giving ways out of filling out the census, saying that you could go to court and say this and say that. So I started researching it, and it's absolutely incorrect. Again, there's almost no consequences for you to not fill the census, as I've already showed you. But that doesn't mean that it's not mandatory. So careful who you believe, because not everything you see online is accurate. And clearly, God Big Z1L is believing everything he reads online, or she reads online. So how many of you did get the long form? Because this is really what I'm curious. Casey Willis is saying, I filled out the census. It seemed like they were trying to figure out how much everyone was worth. They asked me if I had a mortgage and about what I thought I could sell my house for. So basically you got the long form census, because those questions are not part of the short form. So how long did it take you to fill out of curiosity? Because I've read the document and there's 83 questions. At least I manually counted 83 questions. Trevor Benson, why does that not surprise me? I'm in my 55th years and I've never filled one out. Again, God Big Z1L is saying no Canadian households are required. Again, incorrect. You can Google the Statistic Act if you want, and it will stipulate that it is not only mandatory, but what the consequences are if you choose not to do it. Again, consequences, chances are you'll get away with it. That doesn't mean it's not mandatory, and they couldn't potentially be consequences. But Trevor is a good example, because it seems that Trevor, in 55 years of existence, have never filled one out. And did you ever get fined? Did you ever get approached? Did you ever get a visit from the enumerators? Man, that is such an Orwellian term. So did you, Ed? Not Ed, my bad. Trevor, did you get a visit? Yeah. Sheridan Forbes is saying, government says jump and Canadians say how high. God help these people. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Whatever, a lot of Canadians will simply do what they're told, and COVID was a great example, wasn't it? It was a great example as to what happened. What happens when the government tells you to do something, even though it sounds absolutely ridiculous. Claire saying Randy Hillier did a commentary on his YouTube channel. Are you talking? You're obviously talking about the census and his opinion on the census. I'm just on. I don't know that person, but he's an MP, right? Former independent member for Larnac, Frontenac, Kingston. And you're saying that he did a... Oh, I know who that guy is. I've recorded with him. Oh, I know exactly who that guy is. Yeah. I see. That guy has a really cool house. It's all out of... reminds me of my old place in the middle of the woods. It's all... it looks like a log house. At least there's a lot of wood in his house. So you're saying that he did a commentary on the census? Maybe I should go check it out. Ivermectin. Why do they need 92 years? They're going to change historical accounts 4 times in that spread. Yeah, that is a very, very strange number. Like, what an odd number. 92 years. I don't know why it's 92 years. I wish I did. But at the same time, you can't be surprised that they want to keep that information for 92 years when they're looking to get all of your metadata available to them for up to 1 year. So it's just a very good way for them to correlate a bunch of data together, all personal information, in order to either sell it, use it, spy on you, whatever you believe that the end goal is. It's definitely not for your own good. Let's just say that it's not about your safety. Ivermectin's also saying, kind of sounds like a Canadian thing. I don't do those. I'm Albertan only. You know, I've never personally filled one out either. So, yeah, I feel you. Fully understand. Again, some people don't like facts. Got Biggs. Well, Nico seems to be full of shit, so I'm leaving. Enjoy the show, chat. Oh. I'm full of shit for reporting what the law says. Cool. Well, at least I am not ruled by my emotions, sir. See, that's a good point, Trevor. What really are the consequences to not filling out your census? What are they going to do? They're going to freeze my empty bank account? That's a good point, right? If Canadians tomorrow would say, I'm not filling out the census, screw you, I'm not doing it, and millions of Canadians do the same, what are they going to do? They don't have the task force to go after you. What are they going to do? Really, what are they going to do? Like I've said this before and I'll say it again. What about filing your taxes? You know, I hear a lot of people complain about the state of Canada and where we're at, and rightfully so. We talk about this every day. But imagine if Canadians wouldn't fill their taxes. And I'm not saying, because think about this way, most people are taxed at the source, right? So the government is already aware of the taxes you paid. They're already aware of how much money you made and how much your employer took at the source. So they're just looking for confirmation. But imagine if all the people out there that have already been taxed, have already paid taxes through collections at the source, would just say, I am not filling out extra forms in order for you to confirm the information that you already have. What would they do? There's ways to protest your government that are not violent, but you need to be a bunch of people to do it. So I'd be curious if let's say in 5 years, Canadians, like 10, 20, 30% of Canadians are like, yeah, no, I'm not filling out the census, when normally they get a 98% participation rate. Imagine next year or the year before, 20% of Canadians are like, yeah, no, I'm not filling out my taxes. You already know how much money you taxed, how much money I made because my employer told you. You already know. So why would I continue providing you the information? Can you imagine how it would stall the government? It would stall Revenue Canada. I'd be curious to see it. I would be very, very curious to see what would happen if so many Canadians just decided that, yeah, no, not interested. Dano is saying, took 20 seconds to pop that shit in the bin. Yeah, I agree. There's probably a lot of people that did the same. Well, actually, just after that comment, literally the comment just under Abyssal is saying, LOL, same fire pit. Fusky the Husky. That's a great name. What's a census? Then Teresa 450. I never opened Mind yet. LOL. It's just clearly that's 4 comments in a row that did not fill it out. And I'd be curious. I'm not asking you guys to rat on yourself because I don't think you can plead the 5th in Canada, but how many of you have not filled out your census? I'm just really curious. Claire Rabitaille is saying enumerator is someone who lists, counts, and collects data. I know, I'm fully aware, but doesn't it sound Orwellian? If you don't do your taxes, if you don't do your census, we're sending the enumerators. Sounds like a really bad superhero. Yeah, so Bug Katie says she got the short form. Clown World, hey Sylvia, what's going on? It's been a while. It would be pretty silly for anyone to admit online that they didn't fill it out. Yeah, I agree. I'm not asking people to rat on themselves. I'm mostly curious to see how many people got the long form and how long it actually took to answer. Although there's quite a few people that admitted that they didn't fill it out. With all the scandals and the move towards authoritarian control, I don't believe I should provide my information to tyranny. Alicia MC. Yeah, I agree. They can get all the information that they want if they want to, if they really want to. Why do we need to confirm it for them? Trevor is saying something that I've been saying for years and I couldn't agree more. We pay their salary. It's none of their business who we are. Yeah, that's something that the average Canadian needs to remember, that not only do we pay their salaries, but they work for us. It's always a problem when the people are scared of the government, because the government should be scared of the people. That's a fact. They work for us. They are our employees. So I agree. You steer the soul. Do you think Pierre will get rid of the census if he gets into the MP job? Yeah, of course not. He's not going to do anything. There's no difference between Pierre Poilievre and the Liberals. He is a Liberal after all, so there's no difference there. But no, the census has been around for like 100 years, I think a bit more. Hold on. I'm pretty sure. I just don't want to make sure I'm not lying. I'm pretty sure it's over 100 years. The census, oh Jesus, nowhere close. Wow, nowhere close. It says that the census has existed in Canada for 360 years, so not even close. The first census was introduced in New France in 1666. the first national census in 1871 and the modern census since 1956. So it's been around forever. Super 420K is saying the CRA is going to make bank with $500 fines. Yeah, I don't think so, because again, throughout the history that I could find, there's a handful of accounts of people getting fined. I couldn't find one single account prior to 2018 of someone going to jail for not filling it out. So the consequences are not really there. They're mostly there to intimidate people into submission. And I would imagine that it would be intimidating for most Canadians to not fill out their census and then receive the visit of enumerators, staff employees from Statistic Canada come to your house to investigate why you did not fill out your census, just like you see in totalitarian movies like the movie Anniversary that I was watching over the weekend. Let me see here. Ronco did a podcast, question mark. I really liked recording with Ian Ronco. Definitely should have him on the show again. You Steer the Soul is saying Canada Post will scan any parcel you get. They take a picture of your name, address, and if the label has a cell phone number, they take that too. Then they sell the information. Somehow that would not surprise me in the slightest if that was the case. That would not surprise me at all. Anything they can do to make money, they will definitely do it. And considering that Canada Post has been hemorrhaging money, like they're losing so much money every year, it's absolutely insane that they're still in existence. Claire Rabitaille is saying the census is used for genealogy searches, but the data isn't released to the public for some 92 years. That makes sense, I guess. Yeah, I guess that makes sense that they are using it to track your ancestry. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense that they actually are doing that. But to say that the information is not released to the public for some 92 years, that's inaccurate, because they do release a lot of the information, but they claim that the information that could identify you will not be released or provided to third parties, which I don't believe this for 1 second. Johnny Breaks is saying, this is my third time, no issues. I would say that this is your third time not doing it. Oh, Jesus. That is such a great movie. Abyssal Lord 2139 is saying, can you dig it? The quote from the Warriors. That movie is awesome. I can't scream right now. I don't want to wake the little guy, but what a great movie that was. Man, there's so many comments. Well, Shady is saying, I said I was gay on it. Yeah, see, that's funny. What would happen if everybody filled it out, but everybody would fill out information that is 100% inaccurate on every census? Or instead of not filling out the census, you would just fill it out with very incorrect information? Because again, I could not find any case of people going to jail for this. The amount of people that were fined for this is a handful of people. It seems like it's basically no one gets fined for this. So, but can you imagine if they received all information, or let's say 20% of the information was completely incorrect and invented? That's funny. Everybody's gay. 90% of Canadians are now gay. Yeah, Trevor Benson is saying, I admit it, I won't fill it out. Yeah, a lot of Canadians are in the same boat as you, bro. Like I said, I've never personally filled out a census either. So, oh, it's 8 o'clock already. Oh, Jesus. Man, so many comments. I appreciate every single one of them. Guys, there's just so many comments. There's absolutely no way for me to take all of them. Yet, a small portion of them. But thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this hour with me. Thank you for all the comments. If it's your first time here, make sure to like. Even if it's not your first time here, make sure to like. Make sure to comment. Obviously, I want to know what you guys are thinking. Make sure to reshare the stream. If it's your first time here, make sure to subscribe. And most importantly, join us again. Join us Sunday to Thursday, 7 p.m. tomorrow. Should be a very interesting show. I'm joined by homestead consultant and podcast host Don Mitchell to speak about what it takes for you to start growing your own food. That's what she actually does. She shows homesteaders how to make 10 to 100 grand a year with their own crops. So join us tomorrow. This is something I've always wanted to do. My house in the woods until a couple of years ago was the only thing missing to be 100% off grid was solar panels. All the rest, I lived in the middle of nowhere. I was not using the city water. I was not using any of their services outside of the electricity. But that was the next step. If I was to stay there, I would have put the panels on. So tomorrow we talk about this. I'm looking to book another guest tomorrow, a gun enthusiast, to speak about, not tomorrow. What are we today? Man, I'm confused. Not tomorrow, Wednesday. Wednesday to have somebody to talk about the gun bans and masculinity. This is something I used to talk about all the time. So we'll see if Wednesday it happens. That would be for a great show. And then on Thursday, I'm joined by Jason Levine for our new bi-weekly episode, East Meets West, where we will be speaking about federal politics, obviously, and the news in the Alberta separatist movement. So join us on Thursday. And remember, guys, as bad as it may seem, it is not too late for Canada, but it's up to us, the people, that see what's going to wake others, to wake our fellow Canadians, to have the hard conversations, to show what is really going on, to start influencing your circle of influence, your friends, your family, your co-workers. So you need to be ready to tell the truth and to have those great, hard conversations, because this is how we change Canada, one conversation at a time. On that note, I will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, enjoy your night. Peace.